Welcome to My Weekly Mixtape, a podcast that takes the classic mixtape approach to building a modern playlist. I'm your host, Brian Colburn. And yes, in case you're wondering, we are back. After the short hiatus, a couple of weeks ago, I posted an episode that kind of explains everything that happened and why I took the break that I did and did a little quote-unquote season break. But now we are back for, if you want to call it, season 2 of My Weekly Mixtape, considering the first season went 3.5 years and 150 episodes. Season, call it whatever you want. I'm excited to be back talking music with everyone again. And like I mentioned a few weeks ago on the announcement podcast, we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. This week, I do not have a guest. Some weeks I will, some weeks I won't. It's going to be a little bit of everything here at My Weekly Mixtape, but this week I don't have a guest. But what I do have in front of me is a list of different episode ideas that you, the mixtapers, have sent in to me via email over at myweeklymixtape@gmail.com, as well as on all of the social media sites at My Weekly Mixtape. You know, I'm on all of them. Come find me, come connect. It's great to hear from you, as well as the fine folks over on the My Weekly Mixtape Patreon, which is patreon.com/My Weekly Mixtape. So I've taken all of their answers to a simple request. Send me in names of playlists. End of story. They could be anything. They could be something serious. They could be genres. They could be topics. They could be something completely ridiculous. They could be something heartfelt and sincere. Send in your playlist names, and you guys did that and then some. I have well over a year's worth of playlist topics loaded into an online randomizer. And what I'm going to do tonight is click spin on that randomizer, and whatever playlist comes up, I am going to come up with a 10-song playlist based on that title on the spot. I have no notes in front of me. I am literally staring at a blank screen, talking into a microphone, and hoping for the best. This could turn out to be a really fun exercise, or it can go into the other direction and turn out to be a complete train wreck, but you're going to be there listening with me and hopefully enjoying this every bit of the way as I hope to be. So with that out of the way, I am so excited to be back at My Weekly Mixtape doing what I love again. Let's waste no more time with the pleasantries and get right into this. I am going to click spin on this randomizer and see what comes up. Of course, this is the first time I'm doing this. So, of course, it's going to be something that is insanely ridiculous. So, I first want to thank Matt Kennedy, my friend over at the X Radio X podcast, who was a part of the punk rock cover songs episode on season 1 of the show. He sent in a 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon playlist. Now you might be wondering, what does he mean by that? He goes on to explain. Each song has to share an artist who performed on it, but are not otherwise from the same band or artist. Dude, this is diabolical. This is evil on so many levels, and I applaud you for it. You are going to turn this into a train wreck from day one. This might be a one and done season 2 of My Weekly Mixtape, but I am going to give this a try. With that being said, 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon stems from the movies, and in the movies, there are always dozens upon dozens of actors in the movies. So it's very easy to take 6 movies and work your way through them to get to Kevin Bacon. But we're talking about music here. And bands don't have dozens and dozens and dozens of musicians in them, unless you're talking about maybe the early days of Rusted Root or some of the Motown bands, or I don't know, the Brian Setzer Orchestra. But yeah, this isn't a movie here. These are bands. So 10 songs, I think I'm being set up for failure. Plus, it's not 10 degrees of Kevin Bacon, it's 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take your playlist idea and I'm going to become literal Brian here. I am going to take it and do it literally. I am going to do the ultimate 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon musical playlist. Just like in the movies, only this time through music. Now, realistically, I wouldn't even know where to begin to get to the Bacon Brothers. I don't even know if the Bacon Brothers have had any guest musicians on their albums. I am not well versed in the Bacon Brothers catalog. I know their music. I'm familiar with their music. I've heard their music, but I don't know all the band members and who they've done stuff with. So, Matt, what I'm going to do with your topic is I'm going to reverse engineer this. Because at the end of the day, yes, you could do a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon playlist and end up on any artist. You can end up on a Billy Joel, you can end up on a Tom Petty, and that's all well and good, but you said Kevin Bacon, so I want to end up on Kevin Bacon. However, I don't see any universe that I'm going to be able to sit here and talk my way through 6 songs to get to Kevin Bacon. So I'm going to reverse engineer it. And like I said, I have no idea who's worked with the Bacon Brothers. However, I do know this. Earlier this year, there was a television series, The Bondsman, Hell and Back, and Kevin Bacon and Jennifer Nettles worked together on it. So right there, I do have a collaboration with a musical artist that I am familiar with. Jennifer Nettles is from Sugarland, so I am a big country fan, so this is a pretty easy place for me to start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the end of the playlist and work my way back to the front. 6 songs in reverse, and then I'll read it as if I was actually clever enough to go from the first song to the 6th. Now, I have heard the Bondsman Hell and Back soundtrack, but pretty much like every TV show and movie out there, I haven't seen it. However, it's a country album and it's Jennifer Nettles, so of course I listen to it. It's got a lot of great songs on it. I'll be perfectly honest, my favorite song when I'm looking at it on Spotify is the least popular song on the album. Our Highway was a single and it was pretty popular this summer, but I'm going to go with something as kind of a nod to you, Matt, for coming up with this idea. Special Kind of Crazy. It is my favorite song on the Bondsman soundtrack. And the song just kind of kicks all sorts of ass. Their voices work really well together. And to be honest, you have to be a special kind of crazy to come up with this idea. And I have to be a special kind of crazy to try to attempt to make this work. So as far as I'm concerned, it's kind of poetic, it's fitting, and this is the way I'm going to do it. So my first song, which is actually the last song, so I'm working backwards here. So this is going to be the last song on the playlist, is Special Kind of Crazy by Jennifer Nettles featuring Kevin Bacon. And God, I wish there was a way I could have gotten here from track 1 to this song. But if I don't reverse engineer this, this is just never going to happen. So, Jennifer Nettles, where do I go with her? That one is actually really easy because the Bondsman has that country sound to it, and she is a country artist. The immediate thing that comes to mind is the duet she did back in 2005 with Bon Jovi on the Have a Nice Day album, Who Says You Can't Go Home. It's the song that really broke Bon Jovi from the rock world into the country world. And some people, I don't know, some people kind of have a disdain for this song for that reason. I'm not going to lie. Being a huge country fan, I love it. I think it works. I love both the solo Bon Jovi version as well as the version with Jennifer Nettles. I think their harmonies work really well on the track. I think the song is ridiculously catchy. It was certainly a hit. It reached the Billboard Hot 100, obviously a lot more than the Jennifer Nettles and Kevin Bacon collaborations did, but it gets me from 6 to 5 in this strange countdown. And somehow I've managed to keep it both in the 6th degree of Kevin Bacon universe as well as a serviceable playlist universe, given the fact that that country sound has kind of morphed from the 2 Jennifer Nettles songs. So there you have Bon Jovi, which opens the door for me a little bit because obviously you've got John Bon Jovi, Richie Sambora, even the other members. They've all worked with different musicians, so I'm not kind of tied into just a singular artist. They've gone in different directions. So that does help me here because I can go back to the Blaze of Glory soundtrack that John Bon Jovi did and maybe work some Jeff Beck into the mix because he played on that album. Or I can go super obvious because Bon Jovi just released that legendary edition of their 2024 album Forever that features everybody from Jelly Roll to Jason Isbell to The War and the Treaty to Joe Elliott of Def Leppard, Lainey Wilson, Marcus King, Avril Lavigne, Bruce Springsteen. I mean, everybody's on that friggin' album. So that would make it real easy. However, thinking back to the My Weekly Mixtape catalog, I had Desmond Child on for 2 episodes and we talked a ton of Bon Jovi. And in that, we talked about the song that Bon Jovi wrote and performed with Cher on her self-titled album back in 1987. And the song was the second single from that album, We All Sleep Alone, the follow-up to I Found Someone. The song was written by Desmond, John Bon Jovi, and Richie Sambora, but the performance itself on the album pretty much features all of Bon Jovi because David Bryan's on there, Alex John Such, Tico Torres, and John even sings some background vocals on it. So right then and there's my next place to go. So this is now track 4, working our way back. We had Kevin Bacon with Jennifer Nettles. We had Jennifer Nettles with Bon Jovi. And now we have Bon Jovi with Cher on the We All Sleep Alone single. And I'm not going to lie, I actually really love that Cher album. It's probably my favorite by her. I know it's got that 80s rock sound to it. I Found Someone. I mean, it's got Desmond Child written all over it. And it works for me. Now, if this song isn't ringing a bell for you, or if any of these songs aren't ringing a bell for you, let me remind you, you can hear all the songs that I'm talking about in this episode over on the episode page at myweeklymixtape.com. Now, Cher is an artist who's worked with obviously a lot of people. Sonny Bono, you know, she's done live stuff with Elton John and more modern stuff with Miley Cyrus. I'm not going to lie, the first place my mind went was I Got You, Babe, but not the Sonny and Cher version. I went to the Beavis and Butthead version from the Beavis and Butthead Experience CD from the 90s. However, how do you come out of Beavis and Butthead? The only other song on there is the one that's actually here's where I go really nerd on all of you. The bonus track after I Got You, Babe is the Come to Butthead reprise that features Positive K. And I don't know a ton about Positive K's music, although I did post on social media recently because a lot of people don't know this. And this is a total aside here that has nothing to do with this episode, but maybe it'll blow your mind. The woman in Positive K's I Got a Man is actually just Positive K's voice pitch bent up to sound like a female, a la the way the Chipmunks did it way back in the day. So if you didn't know that, there's your fun fact for now. But coming out of Positive K, I'd be going down a hip hop road coming from country. And the only Positive K collaboration that I can even think of off the top of my head is an MC Light song that even the name escapes me right now. So I'm not going to go down the Beavis and Butthead route. But for Cher, I'm going to go way, way back. And it does include Sonny Bono because he's a part of this too. Because on the Ronettes' Be My Baby, Cher and Sonny Bono are singing backup vocals. So there we go from Cher being the lead to Cher being the featured artist, taking us down to number 3 in this walk down of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon in reverse. So, what else needs to be said about Be My Baby? It's an absolute classic song by the Ronettes. Phil Spector doing his thing. Jay Sweet and I talk a lot about Spector, The Wall of Sound on some of the oldies episodes that we've done in season 1. I mean, the song is included on endless best of lists, top song lists. And if somebody with the musical prowess of Brian Wilson considers the song to be his favorite song of all time, I think that's pretty much all that there needs to be said about the Ronettes' Be My Baby. And selfishly, what's also really nice about choosing this song is the fact that I can kind of cheat because, yes, Be My Baby is one song, but when the lead singer goes and interpolates that song for somebody else, I think it counts. And one of my favorite songs of all time is Eddie Money's Take Me Home Tonight, that features the interpolation of Be My Baby with not a sample, but Ronnie Spector singing as a featured artist. It was uncredited, but she sang on that track. That was not a sample. So as far as I'm concerned, it counts, and I'm making up the rules as I go along here like I always do. So coming out of the Ronettes' Be My Baby is the interpolation of Be My Baby, taking us into Take Me Home Tonight by Eddie Money in that number 2 slot. Now, Eddie Money is not somebody that I think of that has a ton of guest spots. I love his music though, man. Shakin', Walk on Water, 2 Tickets to Paradise. I love Eddie Money. I listened to a lot of Eddie Money growing up with my father. That was part of our Friday night music nights. But also part of our Friday night music nights came the random knowledge that would come out of my dad every now and then when a song would come on. And one of his favorite songs was by Kenny Loggins. Now, where do Kenny Loggins and Eddie Money come together? Believe it or not, and I don't know, again, kind of like the Positive K thing, I don't know how many people know this, but this is just one of the many worthless pieces of music knowledge I have stuck in the back of my head. Eddie Money sings backup vocals on Kenny Loggins' I'm All Right theme from Caddyshack. Yes, he sings background vocals as well as some lead vocals during the breakdown. The whole mama man, it makes me feel good. That's Eddie Money. And Eddie Money aside, this is always going to rank as one of my favorite Kenny Loggins songs. And I know there's a lot of them. I could do an episode of my weekly mixtape on Kenny Loggins, just between his solo stuff as well as Loggins and Messina. And hell, I even love the theme from Caddyshack 2, Nobody's Fool. The song kicks ass. But I'm All Right holds kind of a real special place in my heart because for years and years and years, and I mean, God, well over a decade, my father had that as his ringtone. And my girls know that song every time it comes on. They know Papa Joe is getting a phone call. And God, every time I hear it now, it does bring a little bit of a smile to my face, but it's also a little bittersweet because I think that's him calling me to say hi. So when I hear that song now, it's got an extra layer of something special to me. But I'm All Right, beyond that, is just such a fun, fantastic song. And believe it or not, musically fits into this backwards 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon in kind of an interesting way. So there you have it. That is the first song in this backwards musical 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. So taking this backwards to the front, I had Jennifer Nettles featuring Kevin Bacon, Special Kinda Crazy. Bon Jovi featuring Jennifer Nettles, Who Said You Can't Go Home. Cher featuring pretty much all of Bon Jovi, We All Sleep Alone. The Ronettes featuring Cher doing Be My Baby. Then Eddie Money featuring Ronnie Spector of the Ronettes doing Take Me Home Tonight. And then Kenny Loggins featuring Eddie Money, I'm All Right. But in the spirit of 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, let's pretend the last nearly 20 minutes of my weekly mixtape episode didn't happen. And if I was the true musical genius that I hope and aspire to be one day, I would have just started by saying, let's go with Kenny Loggins and go the yacht rock route. And let's go with Kenny Loggins' I'm All Right theme from Caddyshack. And then I would drop the Eddie Money knowledge. And then from Eddie Money, we'd go into Take Me Home Tonight featuring Ronnie Spector. And then you'd take Ronnie Spector and go over to the Ronettes and do Be My Baby, and then drop that Cher bomb that maybe not everybody knows. Even though, yes, it's an interpolation, it's a little bit of a gray area, whatever. I'm going with it. Then you go from Cher being as a part of Be My Baby as a background vocalist into her self-titled album featuring Richie Sambora, John Bon Jovi, and the rest of the band on We All Sleep Alone. Thank you, Desmond Child, for that interview to give me that knowledge. Then you go from Bon Jovi being the featured artist to Bon Jovi being the main artist with Who Said You Can't Go Home, bringing Jennifer Nettles into the mix. And then Jennifer Nettles with Kevin Bacon doing Special Kinda Crazy from this year's The Bondsman Hell and Back soundtrack, which is now streaming on Amazon. And I should probably watch it because I've actually heard the entire soundtrack a couple of times. I really like it. Have not seen the show, which if you ever listen to Tune Styles or Playlist Wars or My Weekly Mixtape, really shouldn't surprise any of you out there because I can't even begin to count the number of soundtracks that I own and have heard but have never seen the movie. Probably the most egregious one being Judgment Night, because that's one of my favorite soundtracks of the 90s. Never saw the movie. Love the soundtrack front to back. But I digress. Matt of X Radio X, there is your 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon playlist here on My Weekly Mixtape. Thank you so much for chiming in with that one. And thank you for making this first episode of the random playlist attempt one for the ages. I honestly I'm pretty damn proud of myself for coming up with this one. This is pretty cool. I'm excited about it. And I hope I made you guys smile with some of those song picks there. What would you have done differently? Is there a way that you would have gotten to a Kevin Bacon collaboration musically through 6 Degrees of Separation? Because if there are other routes, because Matt did say to me on Twitter that if I stayed somewhere between Steve Lukather and Michael McDonald, I could do okay with this. And somehow I avoided both of them. So I would love to hear, Matt, from you or anybody else, how you would get to Kevin Bacon through 6 songs. I think this was a lot of fun. Thank you for chiming in with it. Thank you for being a friend of the podcast. If you haven't heard X Radio X, the music podcast, be sure to check them out as well. Matt's been on this show. We've also worked together on Playlist Wars. I'm still waiting to guest over there, guys. So just let me know when. I am game. I would love to come on and talk music with you guys, especially going down a covers rabbit hole. You guys do some really fun cover songs episodes over there. Keep up the great work. And thank you so much for that incredibly fun kickoff to this new era of My Weekly Mixtape. Now, if you're out there listening and you have playlist ideas that you want to send my way, I am all ears and eyes. Hit me up, myweeklymixtape@gmail.com, or on any of the social media platforms at My Weekly Mixtape. If you don't know the songs that I've talked about in tonight's episode, head over to the episode page at myweeklymixtape.com. I'm embedding a playlist so you can hear the ultimate 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon musical playlist in its entirety. I mean, it's only 6 songs, but I'd love to hear what you guys think of it and how you would get there differently. That's what this conversation's all about. I thank you all for listening to this episode. If you like what you're hearing, you could support the show over on Patreon at patreon.com/My Weekly Mixtape. Join the Mixtaper community there. I would love to have you. It's been an absolute pleasure sitting behind this mic for the first time in a very long time. I'm sure you've heard my excitement and joy throughout this episode, and I hope you've gotten the same excitement and joy listening. If you have, you know the drill. Please hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends about the show. 5-star reviews are also always appreciated, especially over on Spotify and Apple. Those play really strong into the algorithm to get the show exposed to more people that are looking for music discussion and music commentary. Spread the word about My Weekly Mixtape on social media, because if the posts only come from me, the algorithm says no bueno and decides to do everything it can to make sure only I'm the one seeing it, which really does no good, because at that point, I'm really just talking to myself. However, if they come from people that have never posted about the show before, they get boosted. So please help me spread the word about the show. I am so grateful for you listening. I am so thankful to be back. And until next time, enjoy the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon tunes.